So technically, tomorrow the 3D printer is supposed to be here, and I'm super excited with it. And it just means that basically, as of tomorrow, I can't start 3D printing yet because I actually don't have the resin, but it should be here soon. And I do need to learn the slicer and the settings and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot to go through for sure, but it's almost here, and it's dawning on me. I'm really excited about it, to be honest. It's also definitely daunting, at the very least. But I did want to take you through some of the parts that I figure I could try actually casting, or at the very least printing, if not casting. The idea being, of course, that these are sort of companion products in a way, so that I may be able to actually make something to print something, or print something someone else has made. And if I like it enough, I could create a mold for it, which might seem really counterintuitive at first, but there would be reasons to do so, not to mention just scaling up production in general. Suffice to say, though, that's not necessarily my plan at the moment. That said, I have designed a handful of pieces for Bionicle in general in my years, I guess, just playing around. I say that as if I've been doing it all my life, but really, no, I haven't. I am not like a fantastic 3D modeler or anything. Let's just go ahead and hop on into it. So I'm going to take you through some of the items that I've actually designed over on Studio, and one of these may potentially be my first 3D print. We'll never know. One of them will probably also have issues that I have to sort out, but hey, that's all about experimentation. All right, so hopping over into Studio really quickly, right off the bat, you can see we have my Borak shields, which are probably one of the things I'm most known for, because A, these were some of the earliest things that I'd ever designed for Bionicle in general, and also just 3D modeling. Although I do have the wrong pinwheel shield here. I am realizing that is an older version of it. The sort of disc that goes around it, I believe, is supposed to actually be recessed further. I'll find it. No big deal. But outside of that, we have the Storm Shield, Mosaic Shield, or Crystal Shield. I call it both, but I've changed the name to Mosaic. The Pedal Shield, Pincher Shield, and Grinder Shield, one being a metal grinder or stone grinder. And as you can see, they're colored towards their respective elements. You could definitely say that the Lightning Shield or Storm Shield here is a bit much, maybe, for a water element Borak, but at the same time, we saw Borak that had multiple different elements. You know, for one thing, Tanakal had thunder or electric, whatever. And so it also just makes sense to me in general, because when I think of like oceans, I also think of like ocean storms and how active and volatile those can be as well. And so Storm Shield just sounds so cool, and it really seems fitting, at least to me, for something like the Borak here. It is admittedly a little bit more detailed than some of the other shields, but also we got like 12 shields already from Bionicle. We don't need every single one of them to be simple in their design, and so I figured having one or two like this Mosaic Shield, like this Storm Shield, having a little more detail is not always a bad thing. It gives you options, right? With that said, though, you can also see that we have my Stronius ankle guard piece here, which I designed to be like really useful outside of just being an ankle guard, but it can very easily attach to the Vaki leg as well, as you could probably guess, because, well, the Vaki legs are used on Stronius, and it's just very clearly inspired by Stronius's original armor, the pieces that he has on his chest and on his shoulders. It just makes sense. It's a very well-designed piece, in my personal opinion, but I designed it, so I'm a little biased. We then also have the minifigure weapons here. All of these are usually just amalgamations of some kind of thing that LEGO had already created. So this sword is from like Nexonites or whatever beforehand. This is actually an old like radar dish from the 90s, which I'm like super nostalgic for too, because my friend had the actual like build that had this on the very end of it. And so it just makes sense to have it as like a shield for Kopaka as well. It looks perfect, really. But you can see some of the other staves here for my Bionicle game sort of thing, which I will cover more in some more videos here as well. Also, the miniaturized versions of each of the masks, which unfortunately have been kind of messed with because of Studio updates. It's very annoying why it kind of screws around with some soft edges. I don't know why it does it. It's very annoying. But suffice to say, we also have, I did not make the minifigure head. That was for purposes for throwing like helmets and the Vahi and stuff on. The Vahi is a bit of an Easter egg in the game making thing, which you'll see in a different video, but hey, it's kind of cool, right? And then on top of that, you have necks and stringers helmets for invasion from below, which I threw together relatively quickly, thankfully. On top of that, we have some of the other items that I made for the game as well, although I don't actually use a lot of these. So like these, none of these end up getting used, but all of these do. I don't think I end up using this one either. And obviously Lego would never actually make that piece. I don't think they would anyway. And then the eye pieces here, that's actually for something completely different. Again, no spoilers here. With all of that said, though, we also have the game tiles, which are not something I could really print unless I like etched them, and that'd be kind of cool, but still weird. And then, of course, we have my version of the GWP, the gifts with purchase masks from like forever ago, well before we had like a full reveal on what it was exactly. Lastly, some gears and some other Technic pieces that I've just wanted in general, or that are just generally useful. The gears here are actually super useful for a very particular build that I made. So something I've worked on in Technic in the past is a flatbed forklift combination vehicle. These are something you can see all over the US. They're used a lot in like hardware stores and things like that to like move pallets of stuff around drywall and etc., and usually taken to locations where work is being done, right? Renovations and etc. And so I came up with a version of a telescopic mast for that works in real life, but it requires like 15 gears or something. It's absolutely insane. It's kind of a marvel that it works, and I'm still really impressed with it. However, I came up with a version that if Lego just made one of these 3 gears that you see here, would cut the gear requirement by 2/3, meaning it would only take 5 gears total to make the exact same thing. And it's like, Lego, come on now. With all of that said, though, we've also got just a little family of Mixel-style joint pieces. And this one here is also an interesting one because this is actually not a Mixel joint at all. This is a pin clip, meaning it can actually go around an axle and it'll clip onto that axle. And then it gives you a bar connection off of the side of that axle. It's a really interesting piece. It is something that I was inspired by from my Generation 2 Nuju Turaga build, because I use a really clever technique that I discovered with the wrench piece, and I'll make a separate video on that as well. But this wrench piece allows me to actually connect shells on CCBS bone pieces that don't have a ball joint available for them. It's a really cool technique, and I quite like it. And this is just something to kind of cut corners there. Not necessary by any means, but yeah. So a decent amount of pieces. There are also some Ratuka type shields inspired by the Visorak, inspired by the Haga, inspired by even the 2003 Matoran as well, with this sort of Koli disc thing. But yeah, those are just a handful of the pieces that I've designed, and those are not by any means all of them. It's not an exhaustive list at all. But at the same time, some of the pieces that I have designed that I want to be able to show off to you, I just can't right now because OBS is weird. It's very buggy, unfortunately. And that also means that I want to show you one of the masks that I sketched that Rothanak designed, but I can't get OBS to open it for some reason. It'll recognize the program. It just, yeah, OBS is weird sometimes. You make do with what you got. But yeah, so I'm really happy with all of this stuff, and I'm excited. You know, this is a new chapter for me. Obviously, I don't have hardly any experience. When I tell people I don't have experience with 3D modeling, this is what I mean. It's not that I've never done it before. It's that A, I'm completely new to Blender, first off, and also B, that like I've never opened a slicer program. So I consider myself below a novice, whatever that might be, a complete beginner to all this stuff. But thankfully, at the very least, I have a good emphasis on learning, if that makes sense. I'm able to kind of identify where I learn best, what I learn best, and put myself and keep myself in that environment as well. So I'm ready to really learn and just kind of take this on as a new challenge and as something that's not going to overshadow everything else on the channel, but will just kind of enhance it, hopefully. So that's the main idea here. We'll see if it all comes to fruition. Of course, I have grand ideas in my own head, and hopefully here in the near-ish future, maybe in the next like month or 2, I can get myself a better computer finally so that I can make proper videos with some editing and stuff, where I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. So with all of that being said, hopefully you did enjoy this video. I know it's a little bit of a different one. Just not been feeling great today, but I'm trying to do my best, and it's been a little bit of a busy one as well. But yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy. We also hit 2,500 subscribers. So thank you all super, super duper. Because of the 2,500 subscribers, my lip decided to break out and I got acne on my face all of a sudden. I feel like I'm a teenager again. All right. But yeah, if you want to join the conversation, you can check out the comments below or take a look at Discord, Instagram, or Patreon if you want to support the channel and get some perks. And I will see you all in the next one, hopefully with a slightly cleaner looking face. It hurts. All right. Take care.